Hiya, I am doing a demo of this, it's a CE-1 Ensemble Crunch. It's made by Will Galluccio of Triungulo Lab. And basically it is as close to a reproduction as you can get with modern parts to the gain stage of the vintage Boss CE-1 Chorus Ensemble. It's got a really unique kind of clipping stage that's quite unlike any other boost or overdrive pedal, and it is kind of the key to John Frusciante's clean tone really. It does affect the sound of the drive pedals, but we'll get to that a bit later on. So I'll just play a bit more soul to squeeze with it off and then on again. I'll leave the chorus just for consistency as well. But I don't know if you can see, but I've currently got the pedal in the low mode with the level control at about 1 o'clock. As you can hear, it's adding quite a lot of, well, everything really. It is boosting volume, but because of the way the amps are set, the actual volume in the room isn't increasing, it's just pushing the preamp a little bit harder. But then it is actually adding some gain of its own. Best thing to do is if I just show you a bit without the chorus as well. So yeah, I'm using it in the low sensitivity mode at the moment because that mode, it actually changes the actual tone of the guitar and the pedals before it a lot less than it does in the high mode. In the high mode, I'll play a chord and then flick to it. You will hear it adds a lot more gain and also some treble as well. So to kind of match the amount of gain and crunch in general as in the low mode at 1 o'clock, I usually turn the level down to 9 o'clock in the high mode. Just a reminder, this clean sound with the pedal off, it is my usual rig. It's my 69 Heavy Relic Strat, going through all these pedals, and then panned left is a Marshall Silver Jubilee Mini 25, what's it called? Can't even remember. It's called a 2525H, switchable between 25 watts and 5 watts. I've currently got it on 25 watt mode. And then panned right is a Fender Deluxe Reverb Blackface reissue. Yeah, it comparably sounds very thin when this ensemble crunch is turned off. Yeah, so now you've heard the kind of the two modes. Actually, I'll just quickly show you how extreme each one can go. So if I max out the level knob on the low mode, so that works quite well as quite a light sort of overdrive. But then in the high mode, you really get some awesome kind of fuzzy drive sounds. And the level knob actually ranges from that full all the way down to complete silence. So you do have a lot of control. So back to where I use it, which is low mode, about 1 o'clock on the level knob. I'll show you it with some distortions. Let's go for the DS2. This JF Fuzz, which is also made by Will, which is a clone of the Germanium Fuzzrite, which I've also done a demo video of. And I'm also going to show you how this CE-1 Ensemble Crunch is very picky about the signal that it's fed from the pedal before it, or from whatever the last buffer before it is. In my case, that's this Boss VB2 Wazza vibrato. It's only really picky in the high mode. So anyway, I'll do a bit of Danny California. I'll have it off first. I'll do each part with it off and then turn it on, and you'll see what I'm doing with my feet. So as you can hear, it doesn't really change the sound of the DS2. It adds a bit of sustain because of the gain that the pedal is actually adding. And it does also slightly compress the signal because it is, again, a gain circuit. It works the same as an overdrive pedal or an overdriven valve amp. So as you can see, the level knob on my DS2 is maxed out, but I've not got a huge jump in volume. That applies with the wah as well, which is actually a deep throat wah made by Adam Kukielowski. He basically made this, and I've just got a Ibanez WH10 rubber pad on it. So don't be fooled by the exterior. It's not actually a WH10. Which is actually a really cool pedal, by the way. As you can hear, the CE-1 Crunch really adds some nice kind of harmonics as well, just to that wah sound. Okay, so I've shown you the drive sound with the low mode. Now I'm going to put it on high. I'll bring back down the level control to the same amount of gain added as the low mode before. And in this mode, it actually has much more of an extreme effect on the sound of the drive. So, when I say extreme, obviously I don't mean like a huge tone sculpt, like switching a big muff on as well. But you'll just hear, it just adds a lot more bottom end and a bit more grittiness. It almost makes this made in Taiwan DS2 sound more like one of the vintage Japanese ones with the germanium diode, I think it is. It's just fatter really, and it really affects the fuzz too. Obviously it is subtle. You might notice it a little bit more what it's doing if I just increase that a bit. Obviously that's a little bit much more gain than you'd use for the kind of standard Frusciante tone, but you should be able to hear a little bit better what it's actually doing to the distortion. The fuzz as well, it really changes the sound of. Just really enhances the low end and the high end. I'll just quickly flip between high and low as well so you can hear the difference between those. Yeah, so in the high mode it really kind of alters the gain structure, which I love. But this is where things get a little bit complicated. When you're in low mode, it doesn't care what signal's going into it, whether it's guitar straight in, whether it's a buffer, whether it's a drive pedal on, whether it's a drive and a fuzz on, whether it's a wah, whether it's everything on. It doesn't actually change the sound of what's going into it. However, in the high mode, it really does. The original CE-1 was designed for a line level instrument like a keyboard, not really a guitar, which is why a lot of people mod them. But that actually kind of gets rid of some of the magic of this gain stage, which is in this circuit here. What I'm going to show you now, currently the high mode is brighter than the low mode. That's because I've got a buffer before it. Just to confirm that, I'll show you now. I'll just set the gain quite low and I'll just flip between low and high, and you'll hear it get brighter and crunchier when I go to the high mode. What I'll do now is I'll actually remove this buffer from before it in the chain. Right, so my guitar is now direct into this CE-1 crunch. What you'll now notice, because there is no buffer before it, the high mode is going to be muddier than the low mode. Yeah, so as you can hear, without a buffer before it, it's much brighter in the low mode. Let's see whether it actually adds more treble than there is without it as well. No, I don't think it does. So yeah, if you're planning on buying one of these and putting it first in your chain, it's just something to be aware of, that the high mode is going to be really muddy. As soon as we put a buffer back before it, all that high end is restored. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't even stop there. Not only does it want to see a buffer, it wants to see a certain impedance as well. So the buffer that I've got before it is, in fact this pedal is quite complicated. It has 2 bypass modes. Where I have it now is just called bypass, and it allows you to turn the pedal on and off like a normal pedal. And when it is off, it just has the standard Boss buffer in the circuit, which I believe is a 1k ohm impedance. With most of the pedals here, that's fine with this, but if you're planning on using it with WH10, I'm going to show you something that happens only in the high mode with the wah. So, what I'll do is I'll just have this fuzz and the wah on together, and I will change between high and low mode, and you'll hear how weird the wah sounds. It completely changes the frequency sweep. As you can hear, the wah is a lot more like extreme and normal sounding with the mode switched down in low like it is now, and that is kind of the sound that it's supposed to be. That's the same as when the CE-1 crunch is off, basically. If I switch it off, put it in the high mode, I'll turn the gain down a little bit as well, just so it's fair, and I'll do the same thing. Yeah, so as you can hear, that sounds much better in the low mode. In the high mode, it's almost like a really wispy filter being controlled by an expression pedal or something, rather than like the fat WH10 is supposed to sound like. So the solution for this is finding a buffer that works perfectly with the input impedance of this CE-1 crunch pedal. A strange discovery that I've found is that the second bypass mode in here, which is the same as the original VBW, actually, rather than it being just a buffer like every other Boss pedal, it actually sends the guitar signal through the bucket brigade chip inside that kind of creates the delay as part of the circuit. In that mode, it changes the output impedance to, I believe, 10k, and it was 1k in normal bypass. That is the correct input impedance for this, and that makes the wah sound normal again. So what I'll do now is I'll put this back in high mode, and then I'll change the setting on that. So you hear at the moment it sounds funny like before. So that kind of solves the problem. The only other pedal that I've found so far that has the correct impedance to go before it is coincidentally another pedal used by Mr. Frusciante, which is the Digitech PDS 1002. I will quickly just demonstrate now. by putting that before. So this is just going in the spot that the vibrato is currently in. Pedal doesn't need to be on, it's buffered already. I'll switch this on in high mode. So this is where it was sounding weird before. Okay, let me just go back to before, just because I like to. Okay, so now we've got that whole impedance thing out of the way, I can show you some more sounds. What I'm going to do is just keep it in the low mode, just because putting the vibrato in the latch mode that makes everything work properly actually does something else quite strange to my signal. It just kind of adds like a weird metallic, well, it's basically got a 4 millisecond delay, which isn't noticeable when you're playing. But I tend to notice it on feedback. If I have the DS2 on, kind of adds a weird like chorusy sound, so I keep that in standard bypass mode, and I'm keeping the CE-1 crunch in low mode with the level at 1 o'clock. I'll just run some Chili Peppers tunes. Now we've got the boring stuff out of the way, basically. Yeah. Quick comparison with the clean sound again. And then for things like Give It Away and Can't Stop, I like to put the micro amp on as well, and that just pushes the crunch into a bit more overdrive. So I'll put the chorus on as well. And then, what else can I play for you? See, it's just crazy. I mean, for me, this was always my clean tone. And just in comparison, now I've got this, I literally leave it on all the time because it just fattens everything up. And if you still want that really kind of thin, crystal clean sound, obviously you can turn it off, but you can just kind of pick more lightly or turn your guitar's volume down a bit, which I'll do now. Just while I'm here, another quick tip for getting John Frusciante's tone like spot on. If you're using 2 amps, obviously use the chorus in stereo. You'll see how wide it gets. And the reverb, which I'm using this Flint at the moment, John had his holy grail after 1 output of the chorus and going to 1 amp only. So when the amps are pan left and right, reverb's only on 1 side. That's exactly what I've got going on here. And that just means that the reverb doesn't wash out the guitar too much. There's still a dry, punchy signal on 1 side. So that's great for like things like Can't Stop Again and By the Way. Like. It's just amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think this pedal just really speaks for itself. The distortion that it adds is just really musical, and I mean, obviously it's analog, but it just gives you that real analog feel. You just can't compare it to, you know, just, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just lost in the excitement of how cool this pedal is. I mean, obviously loads of people use their guitar. Loads of famous guitarists like put their guitar through Echoplex preamps and things like that. They have these little secret always on pedals. I mean, that's what this is doing. It's just totally sweetening up the tone that's already there. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you want one of these, there's a very limited run, I think, that Will's made, possibly about 10 pedals, maybe even less. So drop him an email if you want to buy one. Highly recommend it if you're into John Frusciante. Thanks for watching, everyone, and yeah, I'll see you soon.